I've got an email from Colin in Marines, and why is it that young people are so often victims in crime, yet the police and public blame us? I'll ask you that.
Okay. Victims of crime. Yes, certain groups can be highly represented in certain areas of crime. Young people tend to be more the ones walking around with the mobile phones, the iPods, or the latest IT, and perhaps not being aware of their surroundings, and then can be targeted. As I said earlier, it's about taking some steps to actually keep yourself safe as well. And I think that's one of the issues. A lot of young people, walk around with the iPods on or oblivious to their surroundings and find themselves then in situations where they may become a victim of crime. But overall, I say crime is, reducing.
You're a neighbourhood watch warden in Marines. Would you say that that's a safe part of Wolverhampton?
Not really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drug dealing and antisocial behaviour in with Marines, and it needs highlighting.
Yeah.
They're taking off two of our main sources what control and help work with us. Their jobs are at risk now, and really and truly these are our agencies towards the police and everything else.
Yeah.
We could do with these people still in a job.
Okay.
And I would like to say it would be nice if some of the younger people would attend a packed meeting and see what actually is going on in the area. And we'd more than welcome you to that meeting. And it would be nice to see younger people attending.
For kick, I'd happily come down and have a listen to what's happening. I don't mind that. But I think you have to do appeal to young people, because if it's things that don't affect young people, I think young people just switch off completely.
Yeah.
Yes, but this does affect young people.
Yeah.
Just pick on the points you've raised. There's a lot of work going on around, tackling drugs within Whit Marines. There's been several warrants executed in the last few weeks alone, and antisocial behaviour is actually reducing across the whole of Wolverhampton, and the local teams within Whit Marines are doing a hell of a lot of work and engagement work. And we were talking earlier about an activity they ran just last year around getting the youths in the school holidays somewhere to go and have a good day. And there's a hell of a lot of work going on to tackle those issues. But I would reiterate what Shirley has said, that young people need to be engaged in the PAC meetings, because they have the right to have a voice and be involved in their local community.
Yeah, I agree on that one, thank you. A question at the back, please.
Well, the College's Debating Society had a discussion today about the state of recreational drugs and where they fit in with society. I was going to ask, how do you think they affect crime in youth in Wolverhampton?
So how is it drugs affect crime in youth?
But you
Who's
have
that
sort of
question to?
done that time.
Who's that question to, sorry?
Oh, just the panel.
Yeah,
Anybody?
Don't want to answer that one.
There are drugs, obviously, which we are tackling as a bigger picture. But drugs are not responsible for all the crime in Wolverhampton. There are things in Wolverhampton that are crimes as a result of other issues. And we have got a lot of work going on with the partnership around drugs interventions, actually getting people who've got problems either prior to them getting to the situation they're committing crime, or actually once they come to our attention, diverting them off into drug-related support. But drugs are an issue for everybody or nationally, but they are not the main cause of all the crime in Wolverhampton.
Is there any more questions? In say a couple of years, do you reckon that the police can work on getting the drug side of Marines, because it's been an ongoing thing for quite a while, drugs and the bad antisocial behaviour within youngsters? That's one of the main places in Wolverhampton that's known for it.
Okay. Antisocial behaviour in Wolverhampton is down in every area. Okay. And that's not just down in the police reported figures, it's down in the council's reported figures as well, because there's been a lot of work going on around antisocial behaviour, from specific cars that go out and tackle it, from dealing with repeat callers to actually doing problem solving and working with agencies to get injunctions and housing evictions where we have got antisocial behaviour. So antisocial behaviour is reducing in Wolverhampton, but it's not something we can do on our own. One, we need people to report it, and two, we need to be able to work with the community to actually tackle it in the long term so that people can enjoy where they live. So, you know, that's the first issue. With Marines, yeah, there's a lot of work that's gone on recently, lots of drugs warrants being executed, but again, it's a community issue. Police can't solve everything on their own. They need the community to work with them. We need intelligence, and we need the community to say this is not acceptable in our area.
Yeah, we need to be proud where we live. I don't think people are proud of where they live anymore. I think Wolverhampton is a great city. You get some good bands occasionally. And, you know, I think people should be proud of where they live. They shouldn't just think, okay, all this stuff's happening, I'm hating it, let's just leave it. Not my problem. It is your problem. And you have to, like, kind of get a voice and just say to people, this is rubbish, I don't agree with this, and just tell everyone how much you hate something. And it will change. If a lot of people get behind a project, it can happen, it can change.
We have another question by email. It's Matt in Wensfield. It says, will publishing maps of crime on Google help people to feel safe in their homes, or does it just give areas an even worse name?
West Midlands Police have actually been publishing crime data for over 12-18 months now. This is what's happened recently. It's gone national, and what it does is allow people to understand what the crime levels are like in their area, because there's often a perception that there's more crime than there actually is. So if you be able to look at the crime maps, you can see where the problems are, so you can understand what the reality of the area you live in is. And if there is higher crime, then you can actually, you know, contact your local police and work with your local police to help solve issues. And like the PAC meetings again, you can go along to those and raise your concerns at those meetings. So the current crime data that's been published is nothing new for West Midlands Police. We've had it a while now.
Okay, thank you. A question for you.
Say I'm walking home from the pub or something and I live in Whitmarines. How am I meant to, like, defend myself, say, as it is a very diverse culture, and they say they don't really understand the fact that girls walking home on their own is normal. They think of it as a let's go and potentially rape them. How do you see that as a panel?
I don't see that as a culture issue. I think that's more of just an issue with the area. I think some areas, I think we all know that no city is going to be perfect. I think we know that every city is going to have crime problems. But I think you need to use your common sense. So I see people every day walking down the road with an iPod out or an iPhone out, just playing on it. And, you know, I'm not going to do it, but I think I can nick that and they wouldn't know it. They'd just be walking along straight away. So I think it's common sense is an issue, and it shouldn't happen. Obviously it shouldn't happen. But I think you just have to be kind of really wary about it. And it's an issue that everyone faces, which is not a good issue, but it's true.
So it's not a cultural issue, it's not an issue to do with the area. It comes back to what I said earlier about people can take some simple steps to actually keep themselves safe anywhere. You know, if you're walking home alone, make sure whoever knows, you know, where you're leaving from and what time you're due to arrive. And it's about, you know, being aware of your surroundings and keeping yourself safe. It's not a specific issue for an area.
So I don't disagree, but I think some areas you would avoid.
Yeah.
Some areas you definitely would. In Wolverhampton, I definitely avoid some areas of Wolverhampton.
It's around, like I said, keeping yourself safe and taking some practical steps around the routes you take, how you're travelling, who you're travelling with.
Yeah.
There's things you can do to keep yourself safe.
Yeah, thank you. Question at the back, please.
Yeah, what initiatives have you got in Wolverhampton to obviously help young offenders? Because it's not just the victims that need help in Wolverhampton as well, it can be youth offenders as well.
Okay. Wolverhampton Police are actually one of the pilot sites nationally for the Integrated Diversionary Offender Management Programme. So at Wolverhampton Police Station we actually have a co-located team of all partner agencies to tackle offender management, and we have different levels of offender management and different levels of engagement. So we are one of the pilot sites, and actually there's a hell of a lot of work going on in Wolverhampton to try and reduce offending, try and get people out of crime offending for whatever reason they're there. You know, sometimes it's down to lifestyle and, you know, accommodation issues, things that our partner agencies can influence more than the police. So locally, I say we're one of the national pilot sites to deal with offender management, because you're quite right, we need to divert people from offending.
Thank you. I'd ask each of you this: how do authorities define antisocial behaviour?
Okay, there is nationally there is actually a definition they use around antisocial behaviour, but locally what we use in West Midlands is anything that's perceived to be antisocial behaviour by the caller, which gives it really wide connotation, but also allows the caller to define to us what they think antisocial behaviour is.
Yeah, thank you. How would you define it?
It's a difficult question. I don't know. I like the idea that you can if something is worrying you, you can call the police. I think that's a good
Yeah.
thing. But I think it's kind of a bit of a generation gap as well, and I can see it from like an older person's perspective. If a group of young people are hanging out at the bottom of the street, I would be a little bit concerned, and I'm kind of concerned if a group of young people are hanging out at the bottom of the street. But some of them are just like literally hanging out with friends and everything. I think that there is a fine line between criminalising young people and actually putting antisocial behaviour forward. And I think that a lot of young people are hassled, and sometimes they are hassled completely rightly and deserve to be, and sometimes they're not. And I think that young people need to themselves have a look where they are. If they are at the bottom of like a residential estate full of elderly people, you're kind of asking for a bit of trouble because you know they're going to call.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be, again, wary as a young person about antisocial behaviour, and that's what I think.
Thank you.